forward, halt. Come left, halt.
Hi, I'm Marcia Coet. I'm with the City of Farmington Hills Senior Services. I think we have a few short tables today. I think some people were afraid with the weather. But we're so glad that you all came. And it is my pleasure at this time to introduce our mayor from Farmington Hills, Mayor Massey.
Thank you all. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you to the Color Guard. What a great start to our program. And I'm glad that Marcia did mention the weather. Welcome to Michigan. A little reminder that, or suggestion of what may be heading our way. But that shouldn't chill the enthusiasm and this event today, because it's awesome that we get to do this every year. And I would like to welcome you to the 22nd annual celebration of our Stars and Stripes Forever program. The City of Farmington Hills is proud to host this program every year, and proud of all of our citizens who live here in our community, both in Farmington Hills and in Farmington, who have served our country so well. There's a quote out there that seems very appropriate. This nation will remain the land of the free as long as it is the land of the brave. And it's the veterans that have served our country that illustrate that bravery. And throughout our history, America has been protected and served by the courageous patriots that have taken up the challenge and made sacrifices to protect our freedoms. And as we celebrate Veterans Day today, it's worth recognizing that this is actually Veterans Day that had previously been known as Armistice Day. And this is the 100th anniversary on Sunday of the war, the First World War, that war to end all wars, but that 11th day, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And we want to make sure that I personally want to make sure that I recognize that, because we're here to recognize our current veterans, but also all those who served previously. It's the veterans that we pay tribute today because of the legacy of peace and freedom that we have in this great nation. There are over 20 million veterans in our country today, and nearly half of those are over the age of 65. But there are many young veterans, and there are people who are in harm's way at this time. There's an entire new generation fighting for our freedoms and protecting us on countries that we, at some point in the past probably didn't even know what the names of those countries were. But it's the thing that's the same is their determination, their courage, the sacrifices that they are making for us. Those haven't changed. Maybe the means by which we protect our freedoms have, but over 1.6 million of our veterans are currently now under the age of 35. So our veterans come to us from every nation. They come to us from every walk of life, every race, if you talk about race, if you talk about socioeconomic background, our veterans come from just a slice of Americana. Our veterans, we should celebrate this because they bring us together. Our veterans believe in this country and believe in what the United States stands for, and they believe in our freedoms, and they, in many cases, have made the ultimate sacrifices to protect those. And it's at times like that when you think that the things that we often take for granted are the things that we need to be most grateful for. And for those reasons, it is my honor to join you today in the position that I hold, but it's not about the city of Farmington Hills. It's about this great community, and it's about you guys and the celebration of our veterans. So thank you for joining us here today. I hope this is an enjoyable activity and that you understand how much we value you. So thank you for your service, and thank you for joining us. It is my honor to present to you, or to introduce to you, the mayor of our sister city, the great city of Farmington, Mayor Steve Schneemann.
Thank you, Ken. And actually, Ken and I both jointly wanted to recognize in the audience today, Christine Grieg is here. She's joined us, and also congratulate her
Yes.
on her recent election victory.
Yep. Christine, so I'll let you take it away.
It's an honor to be here today to celebrate and pay honor and respect to our veterans. And 5 days ago, I went to church and was able to worship in the traditions of my family. 3 days ago, I went to the polls and enjoyed the freedom to vote, as many of you did, I'm sure. And I've got daughters that live around the country and are exploring colleges for their education as we speak. And I've got a neighbor, friend, boy that grew up with my kids, who just graduated this spring from Wayne State University and just finished his officer school to become a second lieutenant in the United States Marines. Why do I tell you these things? They seem relatively common every day, but they're not common in many places in the world. And we enjoy tremendous freedoms in this country. And it's because of the hard work, the dedication of men and women in uniform that protect our way of life day and night. It's fantastic to see, Mayor Massey mentioned the generations, and so to see different generations of veterans here, thinking of young men and women that are just now enrolling. And this morning I was at Our Lady of Sorrows, and we heard from World War II veterans. I believe there are some here today. I never served in the military, my grandfathers did. But those things that I just shared with you, the freedoms that I have, that my family has, those are all at the cost that was borne by our veterans. And so for somebody like me, that's a civilian, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. As the mayor of the city of Farmington, I can tell you that we place tremendously high value on our veterans and the freedoms that we afford and enjoy in the city of Farmington because of our veterans. So I just want to thank you for your service. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words today, and just ask that you enjoy this morning's program.
I have the distinct honor to introduce to you a gentleman that I enjoy speaking to, and he steps by often, and what a treat. Retired Colonel Edward Hirsch, and he will present and recognize the POWs and MIAs.
Thank you, Marcia. I would ask everyone to, at some point today, to pay attention to the table that's to my right, to your left of the speaker's platform. Those who have served and are currently serving the United States of America as members of the uniformed services, as civil servants, and those contractors are ever mindful that the sweetness of enduring peace has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who who have endured and may still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and internment. Before we begin our activities this day, we will pause to recognize our POWs and MIAs. We call your attention to this small table, which occupies a place of dignity and honor. It is set for one, symbolizing the fact that some are missing from our ranks. They are referred to as POWs and MIAs. We call them Conrads. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families tonight, so we join together to pay our humble tribute to them and bear witness to their continued absence. This table set for one is small, symbolizing the family of one prisoner alone against his or her suppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The single red rose in the vase signifies the blood that many have shed in sacrifice to ensure freedom of our beloved United States of America. The rose also reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep the faith while awaiting their return. The vase is tied with a red ribbon, symbol of our continued determination to account for our missing. A slice of lemon on the plate is to remind us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt on the plate symbolizes the countless fallen tears of families as they wait. The holy books of many faiths represents the strength gained through belief to sustain those lost from our country, founded as one nation under God. The candle is reminiscent of the light of hope which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors, to the open arms of a grateful nation. The glass is inverted. They cannot drink with us this day. The chair is empty. They are not here. Let us hope that all of our comrades will soon be back within our ranks. Let us remember and never forget their sacrifices. May God forever watch over them and their families. Thank you for your attention. It is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. Retired Lieutenant Colonel, United States Marine Corps, Lindell Holm. He serves as the Director of the Michigan Veterans Trust Fund since March 17, 2014. I'm not going to go into what the trust fund is because Lindell's going to handle that quite well. But I will say Lindell served 25 years in the Marine Corps, where he earned numerous medals, including Meritorious Service Medal, Air Medal twice, Navy Marine Corps Commendation Medal four times, the Armed Forces Expeditionary Service Medal, Southwest Asia Service Medal, Afghanistan Campaign Medal, Global War on Terror Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Armed Forces Reserve Medal twice, and the Sikorsky Life Saving Award. He won that twice, once for a life-saving event in California, the other in Afghanistan. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Retired Lindell Holm.
All right. Well, good morning. It's definitely an honor to be here and for this occasion, the occasion to honor our veterans. I got the opportunity to meet several this morning, so thank you for that opportunity, and I hope to maybe meet a few more. The members of the Special Forces Association. I had a little bit of interaction with the Special Forces when I was in Afghanistan. I was a helicopter pilot, so I flew the CH-53, which, if anybody is familiar with that, it's like flying your garage. It's basically, you can fit 3 Jeeps inside of it. It's a large helicopter. And so most of our missions were for resupply type of missions, but we did have one that we served with, took a Special Forces A-team into a village. It actually worked out very well. They didn't get the high value target they were looking for, but nobody, no losses, and it was a pleasure. It was an opportunity to work with the special forces that were there. So that was my one interaction with special forces. But thank you to all the veterans for your service. As the mayor was speaking, and he relayed some of the events of the week that he had taken part in, the church attendance, the voting, the other normal things. His words really struck a chord. They did with me, and I'm sure they did with you as well. Just to realize that when we talk about these, the veterans who served, these events of history, he mentioned Armistice Day, these events of history, they actually have an impact. You and your service has an impact. It had an impact that continues on to this day. Many of us served years ago, but that impact is still having an effect today in the freedoms that we exercise on a daily basis, and the way that living in this great country, living in this democracy, you all contributed to the experience that we all have of being able to manage our own affairs and run our own government in this republic, this democracy. So you should take a moment to take pride in your service and what you contributed, and I don't have to advise any of this group to take pride in their service. I know that they do, and they should, and it's very well deserved. And when you see other veterans, throughout the weekend and just throughout the year as well, please pass on another fellow citizens and a fellow veterans appreciation of their service. So, Armistice Day, that was mentioned. We're going to be celebrating that here in a couple of days. I'll just pass this on. I think it's kind of interesting. My son was telling me about Armistice Day. He's 15. He's just about to turn 16, and he was telling me all about Armistice Day. And he was telling me he got into some more details about World War I that I was a little bit surprised that he knew some of these things. Whether it was weapons from World War I. The units that were involved, the countries that were involved, and he was going on in some detail on this, and I was like, where are you getting this from? Because I remember he had spoken earlier that he was not studying it in school, and he said that he was playing a video game, so not all video games are just mindless, I guess, because he was describing this video game. It's called Battlefield 1. I'll put a plug in for it, and I'm not getting any compensation for it. But anyway, yeah, so apparently in this game, they also have a fairly descriptive narrative of what's involved in what took place in World War I, some history. So he was telling me all about Armistice Day. So I was pleased to hear him and his knowledge of that. And I was telling Colonel Hirsch, about this description of Armistice Day, and it must be accurate because Colonel Hirsch said it was just as he remembered it. And so there's some good coming out of those video games. But so I retired from the Marine Corps 5 years ago, and shortly after that I became the director of the Michigan Veterans Trust Fund. And the Michigan Veterans Trust Fund, it's a great program. It's unique to Michigan. We're the only state in the union that has something like this. The other states have programs to assist veterans. This one is unique in that it's funded by a $50 million trust that was established in 1946, which back then that was a lot of money. Today I would say that's still a lot of money, but back then it was even, in today's dollars, that would be about $670 million. But the point is that the state of Michigan established this trust fund that for the purpose of aiding those returning World War II veterans. So the program is to provide financial assistance to wartime era veterans. The eligibility has since been expanded to all wartime era veterans that have an emergency, an unforeseen financial emergency. And the program operates in all 83 counties of the state. There are local committees that will take the application and they will review it. And if it's approved, if the need is determined to be proven on the application, and the committee votes to approve it, then my office will pay out to the vendor. The money doesn't go to the veteran, it goes to the vendor for mortgage assistance, rent assistance, utilities, perhaps a car repair. We've a couple of stories that I like to tell. We had a veteran who had just finished his training as a mechanic, and but whenever you get hired as a mechanic, you have to bring your own set of tools. So he didn't have his set of tools yet. So he came to the trust fund, and he had brought with him a list of tools that he needed to get this job. We looked at the list of tools and where he was going to get them from, and we thought, well, I think we can do better, because he was about $350 worth of tools, and that's not too much to spend on tools. So we actually sent him back and said, hey, why don't you go and get better tools that are going to last you a longer time period and really set you up for success. So he did, and we were able to set him up. So now he was able to take on that job as a mechanic and take care of himself from that period forward. You know, the expectation is with his job, he'd be able to meet his own needs. We helped a widow of a Korean War veteran who also had, so she was in her 80s, and she had a special needs daughter who was in her 50s. But their home, as last spring the thaw came, and their septic field had failed, and there was sewage on the lawn. This was a $8,000 repair to get everything taken care of, but the trust fund was able to help her out. And the mother and her daughter were able to stay in their home. And those are the kinds of things that the trust fund does for our veterans, wartime era veterans in need. So if you do know of any veterans who we might be able to assist, please, let them know, tell them about the program. And if they are interested in applying, normally that's through the county, but I've got a phone number that they can call and find out exactly where to apply. And also they can find out other benefits that they might be eligible for. That number is 1-800-MISH-VET, M-I-C-H-V-E-T, 1-800-MISH-VET. And that's a great phone number to have handy. Pass it on to other veterans and dependents of veterans, and talk to somebody. You'll actually get to talk to a real live person, and you can ask them any questions, whether it's veteran related, maybe it's something other related, but they will, if they don't know the answer right away, they'll find the answer, and they'll get back to you and provide you with a resource or a name of a place where you can go and get assistance. And that particular phone number is a part of the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency. That Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency is where the Michigan Veterans Trust Fund is housed. That's where we work. And the agency is only 5 years old. Governor Snyder did start that. It was determined that there was a need within Michigan was one of the last states to create an agency of this kind to help connect veterans with the benefits that they're entitled to, that they've earned. So, and they're doing a good job of that. There's a number of different markers that we can point to, but bottom line is we want to say that if you're a veteran or if you know of a veteran, we want to help them connect to those benefits that they've earned. We want to be a resource that they can turn to, especially as oftentimes as we age, that's when there's oftentimes more of a need that comes up, and we want to be there to help you identify what kind of assistance is available, and whether it's through the VA, the federal VA, whether it's through the state, a state agency. It doesn't have to be our agency, it could be a different state agency, or maybe it's a local resource. We want to be able to help connect our veterans to what's out there. Over 70% of the veterans are over the age of, 65, I believe. So there's in the state of Michigan. So there is definitely a need, and the agency is very in tune to that particular need. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and again with those benefits, 1-800-MISH-VET, that's the number where you can find out any of that kind of information. So with that, I wanted to just say again, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do, what you have done in a very meaningful way to affect all of our lives on a daily basis, every day. The other day, I took my son to University of Michigan there in Ann Arbor. He's 17 years old. My older son's 17 years old, so I took him there to, get the experience of being on a college campus and try to, get him thinking about college and where he might like to go. And he mentioned this is the first time he's ever really expressed any interest in ROTC, and we talked about that, but when he started talking about it, it made me stop and think, well, it is a dangerous world. We all tend to be a little bit protective of our children, and I thought, well, it is a dangerous world. Do I want to encourage my son to go into the military as I did, and as all of you or many of you have done? And that protective instinct was kind of kicking in. But then I thought about the experiences that I had, the friendships that I had, the challenges that I faced, and I thought, yeah, there is danger. But you know what? As a young man, he should be expected to face some of those dangers, and the growth that comes out of that, I think, is invaluable. And he will be a better man as a result of having faced those, stood up to those challenges and taken them on, and the service that he gives back to his country, he can share in the pride that we have in giving back to the country and making the impact that we have had on, again, the daily lives of everyone here, our fellow Americans. So thank you. Also, I'll be remiss to say if I don't say happy birthday to any Marines that might be here. Our Marine Corps birthday is tomorrow, so 243 years for the birthday. So it's a great weekend celebrating veterans, honoring veterans, celebrating the Marine Corps birthday, and of course remembering the 100th anniversary of Armistice Day. Thank you.
So this is the part of the program that I honestly look forward to the most. Actually, this is the program that I look forward to every year the most, honoring you, the veterans. So Teresa Bryant is going to help us out. We're going to ask each of you, when your name's called, we'll call you up in a small group, and Teresa will give you directions. But once again, thank you for all your service. This just couldn't be a more wonderful way to celebrate your service. Thank you.
Good morning. On a personal note, I just want to say, as the proud daughter, daughter-in-law, aunt, niece, and sister of former vets from all branches of service, thank you for yours. I greatly appreciate it. We will call your name. Would like to have you come up, give your name, your branch of service, and when you served. Okay?
Ed Hirsch, Colonel, retired, Special Forces, Vietnam, Special Operations, Vietnam. My dad served in the First World War as aviation mechanic, didn't have enough, came back in the Second World War, served in the Coast Guard. My son retired 3 years ago after serving as an air defense artillery officer. He was in Iraq, and I'm very proud to have served my country.
Andrew Brown, Master Sergeant, retired United States Army Special Forces, Special Operations, and I come from a background of Second World War, mostly veterans, and I was very proud also to serve in my country and will continue to help as much as I can. Thank you.
Frank Burns, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army, Special Forces, retired, served in Vietnam, 3 tours. My brother served in the Marine Corps. Kayson died of Agent Orange. My other brother served in the Navy Swift boats, and my brother-in-law served at Tay Ninh. All 4 of us were at Vietnam at the same time. We were just the military. My grandson is a Marine. My brother was a Marine. We just come from a military family. Thank you.
My name is David Kelly, Staff Sergeant. Spent 22 years in the United States Army, 82nd Airborne Division. Thank you.
John Sosa spent from 66 to 81 with the 101st, 82nd, and Special Forces. My daughter is currently serving as a captain in the military training troops. Thank you.
Joe Clyburn. I served with the 101st Airborne Division, the 82nd, the 11th Airborne Division. I served with the 187th Regimental Combat Team in Korea. I had 5 brothers that served in World War II, and my younger brother served in Korea with me. I'm happy to be here, and airborne all the way.
Good morning. My name is Irish Cardell Palmer, and I served with the 509th in Germany, and then I joined Special Forces at Selfridge Air Base, and I've been in since '68 to 2005, and I enjoyed it all. Thank you.
Lieutenant Colonel Lindell Holm, United States Marine Corps, served from 1988 to 2013. And my brother was also in the U.S. Air Force during the Vietnam War.
My name is James Jackson. I served the 101st Airborne Division and also Special Forces. And I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Harry Edwards. I served 219th Military Intelligence in Long Binh, Bien Hoa. I served from 66 through 68. That's it.
How y'all doing? Dwayne Daniels. I served from 1980 to 1992 with the 5th Special Forces Group. I experienced every hot spot in the world, and it was the best years of my life. Thank you.
Richard Smith, Vietnam, 5th Special Forces Group. I served with Frank at one time, and I'm glad I made it through. And I thank everyone for having me here. Where's the general? Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Bill Zawacki, United States Army Counterintelligence.
Lieutenant Colonel Lowell Rowe, United States Marine Corps, 1st Marine Brigade.
Jack Davis from Navy, Germany.
Joel Kramer, Japan, 1952 to 58. Yes.
Harry Smith, Master Sergeant, retired, Army, Vietnam, 67, you say this again, 71 Vietnam, and spent the rest of the time in the reserves, a total of 26 years.
Hi, Gene Richmond, 56 and 57, U.S. Army, Heavy Weapons Infantry Ski Troops, Alaska.
Hi, I'm Joseph Sislow. I was in the Navy from 1961 to 1965. I served on the USS Little Rock for 3 years, which is presently a museum in Buffalo, New York at the Erie County Naval Park. So if you're ever in Buffalo, stop by.
Tom Beauchamp, 476 Fighter Interceptor Squadron, Da Nang, Vietnam, 65.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Holcomb. I served in Vietnam in 1967 in the Army Artillery.
Saul Arsht, Marine Corps, Korea, 1953. Semper Fi.
Al Resnick. I had the privilege of being in well, let's put it two ways. I was there next door to my house, all right, and I was handling the pays, okay, and I very frankly, I liked it. I helped there, all right, but the situation is that I had some health problems. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Gerard McMaster. The aim to flame I aim to flame. My mother had 5 boys in the service at one time, Korean War. She was in Canada. She was very proud of the fact that her boys served. And that's about all I can say.
What branch of the service did you serve?
Pardon?
Which branch of the service did you serve in?
Oh,
Were you in the Army?
I was in the U.S. Army.
Thank you for your service.
Hmm?
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. Very kind.
My name is Jerry Hayden. I was in the United States Army in the 28th Group, and I was a senior radar operator at the foot of Connor Avenue. We took care of the missiles that are on Belle Isle, or that were on Belle Isle.
Good morning. I'm Joanne Chang, Commander, United States Navy Medical Corps. I'm a Desert Storm veteran.
Good morning. I'm Captain John Holscher, Medical Service Corps, United States Navy. I joined the Navy in 1987 and retired last year in 2017 with 30 years of service. I'm the youngest of 10 kids. I have 3 older brothers who served in the Vietnam era, and the 4th older brother was the #1 draft pick, which is not the same as the NFL draft pick. But he was set to go to Vietnam, but that was in 1975, right when conflict ended. So very proud to have served. I'm very proud to be here with all my fellow veterans and brothers in arms, and God bless you.
Richard Zanetti, retired naval officer with 26 years of service, began service in 1969 during the draft era, affiliated with the Naval Air Reserve, deployed to Gulf of Tonkin Air Ops aboard USS Kitty Hawk, last of the fossil-burning carriers. And after coming back and released from active duty, I affiliated with the Naval Air Reserve in Selfridge Air National Guard Base and flew in various capacities, the last with Patrol Squadron 93, Cold War, anti-submarine ops, and also with the President's war on drugs. Retired in 1995, a proud resident of Farmington Hills, Mr. Mayor, since 1976. A pleasure to be with this august body of all you fellow reservists, and welcome home to all of my fellow Vietnam veterans.
Hello, Paul Fitzpatrick here. I was in the Vietnam era. I was in military intelligence, which is a play on words for me, and First Army, and spent 71 and 72 in the Army. Thanks.
My name's Harvey Hershey. I was in both North Korea and South Korea in 1952. I'm Carl Christoph. I served in the United States Air Force from 1966 to 1972. It's Vietnam era, and I was in a very strategic outpost of Madison, Wisconsin. I worked for Nike before they were a shoe. We had Nike missiles, and I cooked for all the Nike missile button pushers or whatever they did. So proud to have served, and thanks to the city for hosting us today. Thank you.
My name is Albert Rowe. I may be the oldest one here. I'll be 94 next month. I served from March 43 to March of 46. I was a paratrooper with the 11th Airborne Division. I served in New Guinea, Philippines, Okinawa, and our division was the first unit to land in Japan proper after the atomic bomb dropped, thanks to Harry Truman. Thank you.
George R. Kellyan, World War II vet, Europe, 43 to 46, Omaha, landed on Omaha Beach. And I'm also 95 years old. Thank you.
Herb Holcomb, U.S. Navy, 43, 45. Seen a lot of action, seen a lot of country. What do you do with 18-year-old kids? Thank you.
I'm John Anhut, U.S. Navy, 1943 to 1946. And I'd like this occasion to pay a little respect to my brother, Bob, who was killed in his first jump with the Screaming Eagles at Eindhoven, Holland. Thank you very much for this great affair. Good show. Thank you.
My name is Herman Kasoff. I served in World War II from 1943 to 45 with a special service organization, the former runner of the, actually the back runner of the OSS, and I served with the 3rd Ranger Battalion. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jack Kammerker. I'm one of the younger kids in the room, as you can see. Second World War, 1942, 1946. Taught navigation, and they didn't throw me out until 46 with a discharge. Honorable, incidentally.
I go by the name of Jim Forbes. I was in the 190th Ordnance Battalion, Yokohama, Japan. It was pretty rough. Thank you.
I'm not World War II. I'm Korea. My name is George Kroloff. I was with the 5th Air Force in 1953 in Korea. And my cousin was a B-17 bottom gunner on a B-17, and he was shot down over Germany, and I sure wish he was with us today.
Hi, I'm Tom Neal. I'm an Air Force officer, missile launch officer, Minuteman missiles. Spent the time from 1966 to 1971. And my dad was an officer in the Army during World War II. And I'm very proud to be with so many people that have spent way more time than I did in the service.
I'm Calvin Hannah-Walt. I was drafted out of Cass Tech High School in 1943. I served in the infantry in Europe and the 11th Airborne in Japan for occupation from 1943 to 1946.
Hello, I'm Arnold Lemieux, U.S. Marines, as you can see, and I served from 1958 to 1962, right after the Cuban crisis, and I was over in Okinawa, got extended, everybody got extended an indefinite period of time, and I finally got out in 1962. Thank you.
Richard Rieger, United States Navy jet fighter mechanic, 1956 to 1965. Thank you.
Bill Lapham from Farmington here, drafted from Farmington. I'm one of 3 brothers who served consecutive years in Vietnam from 64 through 69, and we all made it back.
Al Wilkinson, World War II, Army Air Force, Weather Service, Alaska and the Aleutian Islands.
My name is Michael Peters, Sons of American Legion, here to honor all veterans, past and present.
What a great, distinguished group. Great service, means so much to all of us. So let's rise and give them a hand.